What up and welcome to Mean Joe Video, my tribute to the video stores of the past where VHS is king and where I bring you reviews on cult favorites, lost gems, lesser known masterpieces, and must-watch classics. I'm Mean Joe Grizzly and I am your horror host, your advocate to the art of cinema, your curator of the cassettes, and more importantly, I'm a fan just like y'all. And with the premiere of Ty West's MaxXxine coming this Friday, I want to take y'all back to about 15 years ago to the year 2009 and review my favorite Ty West film, The House of the Devil. The House of the Devil might not be Ty West's first film, but it is definitely the film that got him noticed by critics and horror fans alike, and is absolutely the film that defined his style. But before we dust off this old VCR, please make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications to the channel so you don't miss more episodes of Mean Joe Video, as well as the other forms of badassery that I offer. And please make sure to follow me on all social media platforms by clicking the links in the video description. Now, on to our feature presentation. Samantha is a college student that is in desperate need for some cash, but when she is hired as a babysitter at a dark and secluded house by a bizarre couple, she soon finds herself in the midst of a sinister plot by a satanic cult that has her fighting for her life. The first thing that you need to know right off the bat with The House of the Devil is that if you do not like slow atmospheric horror, then you are more than likely not going to like this too much. But if you like the patient, tension-building mood of the late 70s haunted house films like the Amityville Horror, the sudden and shocking moments of graphic violence in gritty grindhouse-style slashers of the early 80s like Maniac, and top it all off with a little dose of satanic panic, then this is the movie for you. The movie takes us back to the early 1980s where we are introduced to Samantha Hughes, played by Jocelyn Donahue, best known for her role as Abra's mother in Dr. Sleep, a college student that is trying to move into a new apartment but needs the deposit money by Monday. So, desperate and strapped for cash, she responds to an ad on the job board at her school for a babysitter job for a Mr. Ullman, played by the great Tom Noonan, best known for his role as Frankenstein's monster in The Monster Squad, and many other roles. She goes to the nearest payphone and calls the number to set up the meeting with Mr. Ullman. But after initially setting up a meeting, she is stood up by Mr. Ullman. So lost and not knowing what her next move should be, she ultimately confides in her best friend Megan, played by Greta Gerwig. Yep, that Greta Gerwig, the one that is best known for directing and co-writing Barbie. Crazy world we live in. But just when all seems lost, Mr. Ullman calls her and offers her the job, and she accepts. So she gets a ride from her friend Megan to this dark and secluded home out in the middle of nowhere, and upon meeting Mr. Ullman, he reveals to Samantha what the actual job is, and that's tending to his sick mother-in-law. Feeling very reluctant to accept due to her not feeling qualified to take care of an ailing adult, Samantha eventually agrees to do it when Mr. Ullman offers her $400, an offer that she cannot refuse. And although Megan doesn't want to leave her friend in such a weird and possibly dangerous situation, Samantha eventually convinces her to leave and await her call around midnight to come pick her up. Mr. and Mrs. Ullman leave to attend their party for this supposed lunar eclipse that was happening that night. And Samantha settles in by exploring the vast house, beginning a night that, unknowns to her, places her into the sinister plan of a satanic cult. And this story and its simplistic structure is just the base used to bolster what the film really shines at, which is the directing style and the aesthetic. Somehow Ty West manages to give us this perfect feel and experience that us horror fans have gotten from watching these movies from this era of horror. And I believe it has a lot to do with his knack for being period accurate when it comes to almost every aspect of this film. His attention to detail is absolutely incredible. The sets look like he got into a time machine, went back to the late 70s, early 80s, shot this movie, and then came back to the present day. And the same goes for the wardrobe. It looks authentic and genuine, and not just some custom-made stuff for the film. It just looks real, like it was pulled straight from that time period. And even the vehicles, the houses, the dorm rooms, and the other everyday things, they all look like they're just pulled right out of time. And it's just incredible, the attention to detail. Then we get to his immaculate cinematography, where he further takes us back to that era of filmmaking. The quick cuts, abrupt zooms, upward angles, it has this late 70s drip all over it. The lighting adds a ambiance to the film that creates tension, dread, and this foreboding doom that has you nervously waiting for something or someone to emerge from a closed door or from the shadows of a corner of a dark room to grab the main characters and pull them away. Even something as simple as the look of the font in the words of the title card, it just looks just like it did in those 80s films and those 70s grindhouse features. The filter he uses also gives it this old school film look with the grittiness and the low budget quality, just adding further to and solidifying that Ty West is a fan of classic cinema and that he is the expert when it comes to perfectly recreating that era of cinema. Someone that has never seen this movie can watch this and not tell that it is not from the 1980s or 1970s. He just has a knack for doing this. This movie also has some great scenes that just flat out stick with you for a long time. The aforementioned atmosphere, building tension, and great cinematography, all that is on full display in this one particular scene where Samantha is in the house. She's dancing around through the house with her headphones on, blasting the hit song One Thing Leads to Another by The Fix. Her dancing around this poorly lit and creepy and spooky house without a care in the world, just enjoying herself. The scene feels like it's this upbeat moment in the film, but in all reality, it's a scene that is building up so much tension, but masquerading it as this upbeat and fun scene. The way that it's shot, it is almost like we are seeing her through the eyes of a killer, and it's like we are just waiting for that moment when someone or something will lunge out from the shadows and pull her into the darkness. It's great. Love that scene. Then, before I mentioned about there is this violence in the film that is very abrupt and downright shocking. And I'm not going to spoil it for y'all, but I will say that you will not see it coming and you will definitely be shocked. I legit screamed, "What the fuck?" It was crazy. Definitely would make my all-time list for most shocking moments in a horror movie. No doubt. Ty West also made some great casting choices. There isn't a bad performance to be found in this movie. There are only standouts. Jocelyn Donahue is great as Samantha. She is so down to earth, relatable, and genuine in her performance as Samantha. Her reactions to moments of terror and suspense are top notch. You can feel her fear and despair when the situation comes to a head, and her desperation to survive and escape these nefarious individuals that are preying on her. On the other side of the spectrum, we have Tom Noonan, who, at no surprise, is great as always. He makes you feel so uncomfortable when he is on screen interacting with Samantha. You know that he has these horrible intentions, but it's even more unnerving because he shows almost zero emotion when he's talking to her. It's just amazing how a man who by appearance looks weak and frail gives off this dark, sinister vibes. I guess that's why he does such a good job when he plays the monster or the villain in the movie. And finally, I also like how Ty West uses the subject of satanic panic in this simple but effective way. And for those of you that don't know what satanic panic is, it started as this nationwide mass panic of satanic ritual abuse allegedly happening across the country that then eventually reached worldwide proportions. There were 12,000 unconfirmed cases across the world between 1980 and 1999. And even though the majority of these incidences were unconfirmed, it still had the whole country in a death grip of fear. And I don't have to say why this makes for good material for a horror film. That is a no-brainer. And it's very effective when it is executed properly. And Ty West executes this to perfection, then mixes it perfectly with all the other elements that he has already expertly crafted to give us this. So guys, if you are looking for a slow burn, period accurate horror film that gives off the vibes of classics like the Amityville Horror and Rosemary's Baby, and has the gritty look of grindhouse slashers like Maniac, and is well directed, well shot, with some great performances, then I recommend that you give this a watch. For me, it's one of the best horror films of the last 25 years, and maybe if you give it a watch, you'll think so too. So I am giving The House of the Devil a 4.5 out of 5. So, before you leave, make sure you hit the subscribe and bell button so you don't miss future episodes of Mean Joe Video, as well as all the other forms of badassery that I offer. And make sure that you follow me on all social media pages by clicking the links in the description below. Grab you a copy of The House of the Devil off the shelf to take home tonight, but if you can't afford those late fees that you're going to accrue, stream it on Shudder, Tubi, Pluto TV, or Amazon Prime. Make sure you come back for more retro reviews and recommendations, and remember, be kind, rewind.